Welcome once again to Pandora's box. What have we got inside that box for you?
What's inside?
Welcome once again to Pandora's box.
Pandora's box.
I can't even talk, so it's over to you. Welcome everybody once again to Pandora's Box. That track that played us in today was Stairway to Heaven, and I'm dedicating that one to our long-time listener Chili Lane, because they were going on about how awesome they think that song is the other day. So that one was for you, Chili Lane. You are officially a friend of the pod. For the first time listener, anybody out there, you are listening to Pandora's Box on AW Radio. I'm your host as usual, Obadiah Pennywhistle. To the right, we have the man with the golden nugget, young Bullwinkles.
Man with the golden nuggets.
I'm the golden nugget.
To the left of me, we have Drupal LeBear, as he's known in Francais. That's in English, that's Drupal the Bear, in case anybody wasn't clear on that.
Drupal the brown one.
So Pandora's Box is a topical, factual podcast where we talk about a plethora of interesting facts and subjects each week. Sometimes we talk about, sometimes we go off on tangents about the mysteries of the universe. We go deep into philosophy, history, science, and of course, every week we bring you Quickfire Facts! We love some Quickfire Facts. I'll tell you what, guys, I'll leave it up to you. What do you guys want to start with today? We've, somebody commented, Sam Peeps, so shout out Sam Peeps, commented on our YouTube channel several weeks ago that they wanted us to look into the mystery of the Swedish girls on the M6, so I thought that was intriguing. Looked into it, printed some stuff off, so I made sure that we had a really good story for that one. Do you want to do that? A friend of ours, Joe Warren, who's also the lead singer of the good band Shoot the Moon, he was in the year above me and Drew in school. He sent us an embarrassing relationship story because about a month ago we were talking about sort of like embarrassing and funny sort of like relationship stories. So he sent us one of them. So do you want to start with that, or do you want to start with Quickfire Facts, reel off some of them, and then
Peeps?
I was thinking Peeps.
Yeah, so I want to start off with Sam Peeps'
Sam Peeper.
Sam Peeper.
So when Sam Peeps commented that we should look into this, or we should talk about this, I thought, Swedish girls on the M6. I haven't heard anything about this before, so I had no idea how interesting the story actually is, and I'm surprised I've never heard about it before. So I'm going to take a little sip of my coffee.
Oh, look at that, sharing on the pod.
Yeah.
We thank you for
we appreciate
your suggestions,
input. We appreciate every single one of you out there, and we hope you're having a good week, whatever you're doing. We love you. So let's get into the story. So Sabina Eriksson and her identical twin sister, Ursula Eriksson, were born in Sweden on the 3rd of November 1967 and grew up in Sunne, Värmland, with an older sister named Mona and an older brother named Björn.
Oh, nice.
A couple of them have got unfortunate names, don't you think? I don't think I want to be called Mona.
I think Mona's quite a nice name.
Mona the vampire.
How's it spelled?
Mona.
See, I think it sounds a bit like a moaner.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Oh, you're just moaning again.
Yeah. Stop moaning, Mona.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I know, yeah. Anyway, in their youth, there was no apparent history of mental health issues or criminal convictions. And by the year 2000, Ursula was living in the United States, while Sabina was living in Mallow, County Cork, Ireland, with her spouse and 2 children.
Cork. Nice place.
County Cork, Ireland.
County Cork.
Ursula visited Sabina on Friday the 16th of May 2008, but for reasons that were unclear, the sisters secretly departed Sabina's home in Ireland for Liverpool, England.
How old were they at this point?
Well, they were born in 1967, and this happened on the Friday the 16th of May 2008.
Alright, so,
Okay.
so they're decently...
So 41.
They've lived their life to an extent.
Good maths there, Drew. Yeah, so Ursula visited Sabina on Friday the 16th of May, but for reasons that were unclear, the sisters secretly departed Sabina's home in County Cork, Ireland, for Liverpool, England. They probably travelled by ferry, and they arrived in Liverpool at 8:30 a.m. on Saturday.
It's weird that they don't know why they did that.
Everything about this is a mystery. It's very interesting, very intriguing case. Probably, yeah.
It's not just popping down the shop, is it? It's going to Liverpool, England.
Yeah, Liverpool, England. Yeah. So they arrived in Liverpool at 8:30 a.m. on Saturday, and they went to St Anne Street's police station, apparently in order to report concerns over the safety of Sabina's children. Liverpool police contacted Dublin to follow up the request, learning that Sabina had had a fight with her partner the previous night.
Oh, that, yeah.
At around 11:30 a.m. that morning, the pair then boarded a National Express coach headed to London. This is when things just start to spiral out of control and just become really weird. Bearing in mind, up until this point, these two had led completely normal lives. One of them, obviously, in America, and one of them in County Cork, Ireland. No previous histories of mental illness or criminal activity. Okay? So, they're now on the National Express coach, headed to London. A police report stated that the twins suddenly disembarked from the bus at Keele Services, a motorway service station, as they were not feeling well. The driver of the bus, however, said he left them at Keele Services, even though it was not a scheduled rest stop, at around 1 p.m. after becoming suspicious of their increasingly erratic behaviour. He noticed that the twins were clinging to their bags tightly, and did not let them reboard because they refused to let him search their bags for illegal items. The manager of the service station was informed by the bus driver, and also feeling suspicious of the pair's demeanour, movements and fixation on their bags, called the police. Officers arrived to talk to them, but left after saying that the woman seemed harmless. So this is when
they didn't ask to look in the bags, the police?
It doesn't say whether they did or not. It just says that after speaking to them, they deemed the women harmless. Although what happened next shows that they indeed were not harmless. As seen on closed-circuit television cameras, the pair then departed the services on foot and began to walk down the central reservation of the M6 before attempting to cross it, causing chaos to the traffic and picking up minor injuries in the attempt, Sabina having been struck by a Seat Leon. Their elder brother claimed in a Swedish newspaper that his sisters were fleeing from maniacs who were chasing them. Highways Agency officers responded to the incident, and police from the Central Motorway Police Group were called to assist. The police were accompanied by a small television crew who happened to be filming motorway cops with the officers. So isn't that so? You can watch this footage online, and it's just a pure coincidence at the time. They were filming motorway cops on the M6. That's pretty interesting, isn't it? The police were accompanied by a small television crew who happened to be... Standing on the north direction hard shoulder of the motorway, the police were being apprised of the situation when, without warning, Ursula broke free and ran into the side of an oncoming Mercedes-Benz Actros 2546 articulated lorry travelling at around 56 miles per hour. Sabina then quickly followed her, running into the road, and was hit head-on by a Volkswagen Polo travelling at high speeds. Both survived.
Both survived?
Yeah.
I did not think that was...
But how crazy is that? They just ran...
So they were being held by the police?
Yeah, because they were erratic behaviour. They struggled free and deliberately ran into oncoming traffic on the M6. Like speeding down the motorway. One got hit by a Mercedes lorry, the other by a Volkswagen Polo.
Damn.
Both travelling at high speed. Both survived. So Ursula was immobilised as the lorry had crushed her legs, breaking both of them. So she was the one, that the lorry hit. And Sabina spent 15 minutes unconscious after being hit by the Volkswagen Polo. The pair were treated by paramedics. However, Ursula resisted medical aid and spit at, scratched and screamed at the paramedics as they were trying to help her. These women have gone loco. It's
not very nice, is it?
It's not very nice, is it? It's not. It's not very nice.
Oh, how rude.
Ursula told the policeman restraining her, "I recognise you. I know you're not real." And Sabina, now conscious, shouted, "Watch out! They're going to steal your organs!" How weird is this?
Did she shout it in Swedish? Or
It doesn't say.
Could they, I assume they could speak English if they were living in America and Ireland.
Cool.
How mental is this next bit, right? So Sabina was the one that was hit by the Volkswagen Polo, okay? To the surprise of the police, even though 15 minutes earlier she'd been hit by a high-speed Volkswagen Polo, Sabina got to her feet despite attempts to persuade her to stay on the ground and being injured. Sabina started screaming for help and calling for the police, even though the police were the ones present and speaking for her. She then hit an officer in the face before running into traffic on the other side of the motorway. Emergency workers and several members of the public caught up with her and restrained her and carried her to a waiting ambulance, at which point she was handcuffed and sedated. Given the similarities in their behaviours, a suicide pact or drug use was quickly suspected. Ursula, the one hit by the lorry, was taken to hospital by an air ambulance. Sabina was taken to hospital where, despite her ordeal and an apparent lack of concern over her sister's now severely broken legs, she soon became calmer and controlled and was released 5 hours later.
What?
She definitely shouldn't have been released.
No way.
In police custody, she remained relaxed, and while being processed, she told an officer, "We say in Sweden that an accident rarely comes alone. Usually, at least one more follows. Maybe two."
That's so ominous.
That's ominous.
That's
as heck.
creepy.
And in hindsight, yet again, this story, in my opinion, one of the main takeaways from this is this was a severe letdown of the public services of Britain, the police mainly, because as you'll see, some awful things transpire soon.
Oh God!
After she was released, and she definitely should not have been. I mean, this was a woman that willingly, not only was like hitting officers in the face and shouting and screaming things like "They're going to steal your organs," but was like deliberately running into oncoming motorway traffic. Like that's not something that a sane person does. She's not right of mind. For whatever reason, she's obviously a danger to herself and the public. On the 19th of May 2008, Sabina was released from court without a full psychiatric evaluation. Yet again, without a full psychiatric evaluation.
Released from court?
Yes.
So this is like a bit after then?
Yes. So she was released from court without a full psychiatric evaluation, having pleaded guilty to the charges of trespass on the motorway and hitting a police officer.
So nothing happened after they let her go after 5 hours?
Right, so no. So, she spent a day in custody. But the court sentenced her to 1 day in custody, which they deemed she had served, having already spent a full night in police custody.
Right.
So she spent the day in custody, was in the court the next day.
Oh, okay.
It was a quick turnaround. This leads on now to basically why the police definitely shouldn't have let her go. So this is what happens once she was released. Leaving court, Sabina began to wander the streets of Stoke-on-Trent, trying to locate her sister in hospital, and carrying her possessions in a clear plastic bag that was given to her by police. She was also wearing her sister's green top. At 7 p.m, 2 local men spotted Sabina while walking their dog on Christchurch Street in Fenton. One of the men was a 54-year-old Glenn Hollinshead, a self-employed welder, qualified paramedic and former RAF airman, and the other was his friend, Peter Malloy. Sabina appeared friendly and stroked the man's dog as the three struck up a conversation. Although friendly, Sabina appeared to be behaving nervously, which worried Malloy. Sabina asked the 2 men for directions to any nearby bed and breakfasts or hotels. Hollinshead was notoriously a very kind man and took pity upon her and instead offered to take her back to his house at nearby Duke Street. Sabina accepted and relaxed as she began to relate how she was trying to locate her hospitalised sister. Back at the man's house over drinks, her odd behaviour continued as she constantly got up and looked out of the window, leading Malloy to assume that she had run away from an abusive partner. She appeared paranoid too, offering the men cigarettes, only to quickly snatch them out of their mouths, claiming they may be poisoned. Shortly before midnight, Malloy left, and Sabina stayed the night at Hollinshead's home. The next day, around midday, Hollinshead called his brother regarding local hospitals in order to try and locate Sabina's sister Ursula. At 7:40 p.m. that evening, while a meal was being prepared, Hollinshead left the house to ask a neighbour for tea bags and then went back inside. 1 minute later, he staggered back outside, now bleeding from various wounds on his stomach and told his neighbour, "She stabbed me," before collapsing to the ground and quickly dying from his injuries. His last words before he died allegedly were, "Please look after my dog for me."
Oh, that's not nice.
What a nice man as well. Just good Samaritan, taking this woman in and giving her a place to stay. You know, taking pity on her. Trying to help her, like
cooking her dinner, getting some tea bags from next door so you can have a cup of tea.
Yeah, trying to look after her, you know, help her locate her sister and giving her free accommodation. As the man's neighbour dialed 999, Sabina quickly fled the premises, but was caught on the run by nearby CCTV. She ran out of the house with a hammer, periodically hitting herself over the head with it, as caught on CCTV. How demented is that? Hitting yourself over the head with a hammer. A passing motorist saw this and decided to tackle her in an attempt to take control of the hammer. While wrestling with him, Sabina screamed and took a roof tile out of her pocket and struck him on the back of the head with it, stunning him temporarily. Took a roof tile out of her pocket. Interesting.
That is terrifying. Do you know what this brings me back to a little bit?
What's that, man?
Do you remember when we were talking the other day about how, like, this is going to sound like a funny thing to say.
I'm looking forward to it.
How we were talking about how chimps, like, the reason they're so scary is because they've just got that animal in them that, like, they literally will. If it comes down to it, they will kill you.
Yeah,
and this almost seems like that. You know,
it's like we're not sitting here worried that like one of the other two is going to like jump over the table and start trying to bite our faces.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
and you can't reason with a crazy person.
No,
you know what I mean? Like she seems like crazy.
You cannot reason with an unreasonable mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this poor man, this motorist, has been stunned, knocked unconscious by the aforementioned roof tile. By this time, paramedics had found her and given chase. The pursuit ended at Heron Cross when Sabina jumped from a 12-metre, that's 40-foot, high bridge onto the A50. Imagine that, a 40-foot jump onto a concrete road. Oh, even just the thought of that makes me sort of like my legs ache. Do you know what I mean? Like,
can't imagine it, can you?
She broke both of her ankles upon impact and fractured her skull upon the fall and was immediately taken to hospital.
And she didn't die.
No, these women.
This woman is
she's a hardy.
Bearing in mind that, like, literally, what was it? 2 days earlier, she got hit by a high-speed polo on the
Isn't
motorway.
it crazy? Like, you think someone's chasing you and she's going to kill you, but she's just doing way more harm to herself.
Yeah,
just by hitting herself with a hammer and jumping off things, and you know, she's the one who's trying to kill herself rather than like anyone.
The only person she should be worried of is herself. Yeah. And also, when
she was smashing her head in with a hammer, then fractured her skull after
jumped 40 foot onto a road.
Yeah, that's ridiculous, and she's still like.
Have you ever like
breathing, man.
Have you ever like jumped like say like off of like a 10-foot wall and it's
what,
like
your legs
and
out?
like aches your knees a bit and your ankles and you think, oh, probably shouldn't have done it quite so high.
Yeah.
But then imagine that like 4 times that. Yeah,
man.
4 times, yeah.
Yeah. But also the fact that she was like, she'd obviously bought the cigarettes. You know when she was offering the men cigarettes.
Yeah.
So she bought them, so she knew they were safe. Because she bought them.
They might be poison.
Yeah, she was like, snatched them out of people's like, they might be poison.
Jump over here, but don't smoke this, put a cigarette.
Yeah. And then she like just stabbed the guy 4 times in the stomach.
That's savage.
Poor guy as well, seemed like such a nice guy. Like, what a nice, like, former RAF guy and everything. Like, obviously was like a respectable man.
You hate to hear when, like, good Samaritans, like, this happens to them. It's like the last people that it should happen to if they're, like, doing a good
savage,
good
innit? That you're just trying to, like, just trying to help someone.
Yeah, man. So, yeah, she was taken to hospital. On the 6th of June 2008, she was arrested while recovering at University Hospital of North Staffordshire once she had come to, and was discharged in a wheelchair on the 11th of September.
Discharged?
Yeah, so she was discharged from the hospital.
Oh, okay.
Not from the police. So she was in hospital from the 6th of June until the 11th of September, so that's how severe her injuries were. So that's a long time, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a few months.
Yeah, good few months. Person. Yeah, like a crazy little vegetable with broken ankles.
What did it say about her sister as well?
Yeah, it comes back to her in a bit. So yeah, she was discharged in a wheelchair to the police on the 11th of September 2008, at which point she was taken into custody and charged with murder. Ursula, her sister, was also released from hospital in September, having finally recovered enough from her leg wounds, and was relocated uneventfully back to Sweden and then eventually to the United States. The trial was scheduled for February 2009, but was adjourned after the court encountered difficulties in obtaining her medical records for some reason from Sweden. A bit odd. The trial was then scheduled to start on the 1st of September 2009.
That's quite a long time.
Yeah, so it was a massive delay all the way from February 2009 to the 1st of September.
What was she doing through that?
She was just, I guess she was just in police custody. Yeah, she definitely was actually, I remember now. She was in police custody for this whole time.
What's that mean? Is that like...
So she was essentially in prison, yeah. Right. She was in prison, yeah. Once in court, on the 1st of September 2009, Sabina pleaded guilty to manslaughter with diminished responsibility, having stabbed her victim 5 times with a kitchen knife. At no point during her interrogation or during the trial did she explain her actions, only replying with no comment to extensive police questioning. Similarly, at no time was the video from the M6 used in evidence in court. I reckon that was because the police knew that would make them look bad, don't you? Because let's face it, anybody in their right mind would detain something like that, surely.
You would have thought that in her, like... ruling at the court, they would have had that she wasn't in her right mind.
So, hold that thought.
Right.
Both the prosecution and defence claimed that Sabina was insane at the time of the killing.
Right. Literally the next sentence.
Yeah. Although she had become sane again by the time of her trial. This is very strange, isn't it? The defence counsel in the trial claims that Eriksson was a secondary sufferer of what is called folie à deux.
Filet mignon.
Influenced by the presence or perceived presence of her twin sister, who is the primary sufferer. The court also heard that she had suffered from a rare psychiatric disorder which made her hear voices but could not interpret what those voices said, as well as an alternative theory that she had suffered from acute polymorphic delusional disorder. Her plea was accepted by the prosecution at Nottingham Crown Court on the 2nd of September 2010. Justice Saunders concluded that Sabina had a low level of culpability for her actions, and he went on to say, and I quote, "I understand that this sentence will seem entirely inadequate to the relatives of the deceased. However, I have sentenced on the basis that the reason for the killing was the mental illness, and therefore the culpability of the defendant is low, and therefore the sentence I have passed is designed to protect the public. It is not designed to reflect the grief the relatives have suffered, or to measure the value of Mr. Hollinhead's life. No sentence that I could pass could do that. It is a sentence which I hope fairly measures a truly tragic event. Sabina was suffering from delusions of grandeur, which she believed to be true, and they dictated her behaviour. It is not one of those cases where the defendant could have done something to avoid the onset, unfortunately. The defendant, of course, being...
Sabina.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
That's quite terrifying in itself. That just like randomly you could have this delusion that oversweeps you.
Yeah, I was just like, there was this thing in me there. I was like looking at both sides. Like when I heard that, because it was a very reasonable thing that guy said.
Statement.
Statement. But it's like, I'm thinking I want her to get some justice for that.
Yeah,
it's like,
it's a man's life, dude. It's not like
he was just helping her and but it is crazy to think that something could happen to you where you think that is real, or like,
and you have no control.
Yeah, and you have no control.
Like it is literally, this is the journey that your body and your mind has decided you're going to take.
Yeah, there's like this type of drug that's I can't remember what it's from. I remember seeing this documentary about it, and these gangs and stuff use it in the country of origin, which I can't remember where it is. This is like really annoying at the moment that I can't remember the specifics. But basically, what they would do, it was like a snuff, and they would get and people would like have purses and things, and they go up to the person and make this person like smell this snuff, and the snuff would like. It would make you completely like just do what the other person said. It would make you totally like easily led like that. But there's a word for it, and I can't remember. Like
hypnosis, almost in a way.
Yeah, like almost put. Yeah, so anything that you were agreeable. It'd make you agreeable to anything that other. So you're in your right mind and thing, but you would just like say they'd say do this and do that. So these people would like literally like take them to their houses and then go in and literally just like completely rob them, but of their own
volition.
Chord, yeah,
they're in volition. Yes.
And then afterwards they kind of come to and be like, all of their money would be gone and all of their stuff would be gone.
No,
it's like so weird.
But I guess like that's a legal loophole as well because it's like you've agreed to it.
I'll have to for the next pod. I'll look that up because it's this type of flower and it's like really dangerous. It might be datura or something. I think it's called datura. Yeah, crazy.
Interessant.
But they have no recollection of that's what they did. You know, it's that thing that it's beyond your conscious control.
What I find fascinating as well is that Sabine was suffering from a condition they called folie à deux, which is where you yourself are not mentally unstable necessarily.
But you fall under the.
But when you're with somebody that is,
makes
you almost like take on those delusions yourself.
Someone that you trust, I suppose.
Obviously they're twins, so that
of grandeur.
a lot of people say that like twins are like linked. Like I've heard stories before of like twin. Like I remember watching a program when I was younger, and it was a guy, and he had this sense of impending doom. He was a twin. And he said he just knew that suddenly that his twin had died, and he just was just like, and he almost just like felt like this weird doom and this like horrible feeling in him. And then he instantly just like rang around and then found out that his brother had just died. And it was like he knew. And it was like weird. So like twins do have a weird connection. I think they literally share a womb and you're sort of like the same person. It's a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're like not the same person, but you sort of are. It's very bizarre being a twin, especially an identical twin.
It's always hard with these sort of cases when there's someone that's not in their right mind as well, to like you said, to almost think of which side is actually right. It reminds me of that guy. Do you remember we spoke about before, the guy who like sleepwalked and he killed someone while he was sleepwalking?
Yeah.
But it's just like, what do you say to that? Because there's no way that he could have stopped that. You know what I mean?
And it's like a lower example, like my granddad gave my nan a black eye. I think I said about this before as well, but like just
in the night,
in like sleep fighting.
Just like Tommy's been sleep fighting again.
He'd be like punching in the bed, and my nan would be like trying to like calm him down. And suddenly he's in the middle of a dream, and that's what they told me anyway.
Bless you, Mary.
Nah, my granddad's a sweet old man.
Yeah, he's a lovely guy.
He would never hit my nan.
Shout out Tommy Armstrong. He's
apart
legend.
from when he's sleep fighting.
I could see how that would happen. I told you guys like a couple of weeks back, didn't I, that I punched my wall while I was asleep because I just like woke up and sort of jabbed at it and then figured out that I just punched my wall.
Yeah, man, people do crazy things when they're asleep, don't they? But yeah, one thing I also think is quite interesting is that it says that they just like shipped basically the sister. What was her name? Ursula. Was it? No, it wasn't Ursula.
Ursula. Yeah.
Was it Ursula?
Yeah, Sabina and Ursula. Yeah.
Yeah. They just like shipped her back to the States.
Yeah.
Ursula. Yeah. They just shipped her back.
I want to know the story of that. Like why she said she jumped into the thing and like with her legs, like how messed up her legs were and like.
So
and
like
why the court ruled that she was the one that was messed up and not.
Yeah. I guess maybe because by the time that her trial had come around, she was acting completely normal and must have passed all the psychological evaluations. Thing. She'd spent over a year in prison by this point. By the time of her court case, so she must have by that point probably there was a lot of time to go through some really in-depth psychological evaluations, and they must have deemed that she was fully sane. And meanwhile, I guess, I mean, I'm just assuming because it doesn't really go into much detail, but maybe upon closer examination, maybe Ursula was still acting insane back in the US after she'd been shipped back. I'm not sure. But the whole Ursula part of the story seems a little bit of a mystery. Like there's not much you can find out about her, which makes this a really intriguing case. But just sort of like the aftermath of the story.
So what was the sentence? What did he actually give as the sentence?
Right. So let me tell you.
He said like, some people might think this is not justice.
Yeah. So I'll tell you.
Ah, cool.
The aftermath. Many questions have been left unanswered about this case. Some called for an investigation into the way the criminal justice system handled the matter, including Peter Malloy, the friend of Mr. Hollinghead, and MP for Stoke South, Rob Flello. Glenn Hollinghead's brother, Gary, has been extremely critical of the justice system, which he viewed as enabling the murder of his brother. Stabling. We don't hold her responsible, the same as we wouldn't blame a rabid dog for biting someone. She's clearly ill and to a large degree not responsible for her actions, but her mental disorder should have been recognised much earlier by the police when she was previously in custody. I do question the criminal justice system for allowing somebody that ran onto oncoming traffic like this to be let out when she is capable of committing such a crime and is clearly not in a right frame of mind.
Her mental condition should have been properly assessed after what she did on the motorway and the experiences the police had with her. Her mental disorder should have been picked up prior to her being let out into the local community. Glenn saw Ericsson, that's Glenn Hollinshead, his brother. Glenn saw Ericsson in distress and was just trying to help her. He wasn't slow in coming forward to help anybody in distress. It was on his nature. He was just trying to help. He would help anybody, my brother. If he saw a fight in the street and a guy was losing, he would help.
So that was a statement by...
Strong accent, man.
Don't agree with anything he said. Don't disagree with anything he said.
No, 100%. Like, there's, as I think, Mr. Hollinshead, Glenn Hollinshead should never have been stabbed and killed.
No.
A woman, literally, anybody that was acting that deranged should have at least been detained until a full psychiatric
I thought you were
evaluation.
going to say, should have been stabbed and killed then.
She should have been stabbed and killed, not Glenn. No, anyway, just to wrap up the story. Sabina was sentenced to 5 years in prison and was sent to Bronzefield Women's Prison, where she eventually turned to Christianity. She had already spent 439 days in custody by the time of her sentencing. This left her first eligible for release in 2011. This means that somewhere out there, Sabina is wandering the streets of the United Kingdom.
She's still in the UK. Oh, that's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, 'cause she was the one that lived in Ireland, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe she's wandering around County Cork somewhere. Sorry, that was Scottish.
I wonder if they've set up that they can't see each other now.
County Cork. Oh man,
Like the sisters.
Yeah, I mean, I think they probably should, really, to be honest with you.
If they what, sorry?
If they've set up where the sisters can't see each other anymore. Because if
They
they
obviously
put
have
them
a-
in that crazy state, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they obviously have like a bad relationship in terms of their influence on each other.
Mm.
It's weird that they almost like they never had any previous history of mental illness or criminal convictions, and then they met up for the first time in years, randomly got a ferry to Liverpool, and then just suddenly just complete anarchy and chaos.
So
Do you know what I mean? It's so strange. Isn't
Yeah.
it? Neither of them even had like the minor felony or any history of mental illness at all. Both just lived normal lives, one in America and the other in Ireland. And then they just met up, and then instantly both just went fully loco. Went loco, man.
She went loco, man. Hey, you loco, man.
Hey, went loco.
Oh.
So that's crazy, isn't it? So interesting story anyway. So yeah, thanks for Sam Peeps anyway. Thanks to Sam Peeps for requesting that. It was a really interesting story. I know I really enjoyed looking into that, and I hope that everyone out there enjoyed it too.
That was awesome.
Yeah, it's good. It's left me feeling a bit weird. Like a little bit like, oh, that's
like she's
horrible.
behind
like,
you.
That happened, you know? So,
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, and also be careful, I guess, even if you are a good Samaritan, be careful who you let into your home as well.
Yeah, that's
you know?
what I was thinking earlier. Like, it's like reading the signs of people, and like you can be a good Samaritan, but you've still got to like almost put a boundary and like be on edge a bit, because if someone is acting weird, who knows what some crazy person could do, you know?
Do you remember my story of London?
Yeah.
My story in Wireless.
Like, you're lucky.
Found a good Samaritan then.
But imagine if it wasn't.
Imagine if you weren't the good Samaritan.
Yeah,
Imagine if you just
exactly,
disappeared, think you were intoxicated, you somehow had travelled like an hour away from your venue.
And you thought they were randomly like kidnapping you or something when you
So,
were really drunk.
Yeah, both parties were taking like a big risk there, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely, man. So that's like a good example, but imagine if you had just turned out to be a nutter, or they had. It's like that saying, isn't it? You know, it's like, have you ever heard that nice little like almost like quip? And it's like, you know, because a lot of people are scared of picking up hitchhikers, especially in like massive like roads in the States where there's like, you know, like freaking like 400 miles between towns and cities and stuff. And there's that like little quip in it of like somebody picks up a hitchhiker and then they're driving down the road in the night, and the hitchhiker says to the person like, oh, like, you know, they're chatting away, and the hitchhiker says like, oh, thanks for picking me up, but like I have to say, like, with all the stuff you hear in the news and stories and that, like, aren't you like worried that I'm a serial killer? And then the driver just like says, as a joke to the person, like, nah, I mean, the chances of two serial killers being in the same car are like next to zero. And they almost, I mean, and the hitchhiker just being like, you know, it's like a funny little thing to say, isn't it? So yeah, cray. Anyway, should we listen to a track now? This next one is Pyre by Opeth. This is a beautiful track. Check it out, everybody. We hope you're having a beautiful evening out there.
was awesome.
Yeah, man, nice little story, innit?
Mm.
So that's pretty much the first hour. I got like just a couple minutes left.
Jumping off a fucking
40-foot drop. That's so mental, isn't it? Like, maybe they'd been around cats and they'd had their like self-preservation.
Maybe, man. Maybe.
Oh, I got a missed call from Tina. What the hell does she want? I'll ring her back later.
Tina.
I tried to get new insurance earlier today.
Insurance for what?
Figo.
What the hell is going on? For my car,
Oh yeah.
because my car insurance runs out in like a week, so I tried to buy some new ones.
Hmm.
And it turns out my dad had like an insurance claim last year, so it's like put it up by like £100.
Oh what?
So I'm gonna call him and be like, why didn't you tell me that? He can cover
Naughty Kev.
it. Yeah.
Naughty Kevin. All right, let's get. What I'll do is I'll get literally just a couple of quickfire facts, just for because we've only got like just under 5 minutes left.
Cool.
And then we can like go into the second hour and we can do some more quickfire facts and Joe Warren's story.
Nice, man.
Joe Warren, one of the Warrens.
Yeah, that's right.
Didn't they post us on?
Yes,
Yeah.
I did.
That's cool.
Pandora's box is about to open wide.
You're darn right it is. We've got 5 minutes left of the first hour, so we're going to hit you with a couple of quickfire facts before we get into the second hour, where we'll talk about Joe Warren's, our friends, and friend of the pods, embarrassing, funny, sort of like early love story.
I'm looking forward to that.
And we'll have some more quickfire facts in the second hour. So, does everyone remember Stifler's mum from Stifler's mom from American Pie?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
You seen American Pie movies?
I have not.
You haven't?
To,
I think that's like a thing of our generation, but I'm
Yeah.
surprised you haven't seen it. Anyway, Stifler's mom, like, so who was it that ended? Oh, it was the Shermanator, wasn't it? The Shermanator ended up like banging Stifler's mom. So Stifler's mom was played by a woman called Jennifer Coolidge, an actress called Jennifer Coolidge, who was single around the time that she played Stifler's mom. The image of being like a MILF, that American Pie, gave Jennifer Coolidge that although she wasn't before she filmed American Pie, she went on to become a massive cougar, and says that after purely down to the role of being a MILF in American Pie, suddenly all of these studs from all over the world wanted to sleep with her, and she ended up sleeping with over 200 men who she describes as like complete stallions and like young alpha males who just all wanted to sleep with her so that they could say they slept with Stifler's mum.
Oh, that's brilliant.
How hilarious is that?
That's
Fair
hilarious.
shout, Stifler's mum.
Yeah. I like how she just like thanks to the movie just became like a complete just like adopted that persona of just like a MILF and just slept with all these like young jack dudes who just wanted to sleep with her just so they could be like probably tell their friends that they slept with Stifler's mum.
Yeah.
Even though Stifler's like a made up person from a movie. I love that. That's hilarious. I got some more quickfire facts now. Did you know that Michael Jackson was terrified of a real life fan who inspired the song Billie Jean? I have to say, I think Billie Jean's actually one of his better songs in my opinion. Billie Jean is not my lover. She's just a girl that says that I am the one. Yeah, so the fan that he wrote Billie Jean about sent him a letter with a weapon in it and instructions for Michael Jackson to kill himself. She also included in it a photograph of herself, so he kept the photograph in his wallet at all times and memorised her face in case he ever ran into her in public.
What the hell?
Because it was just so demented that she just sent him instructions to kill himself with a weapon.
I thought she was a fan.
Is that all she sent? Just in...
Yeah, she sent a picture of herself, a photograph, not her name, a photograph of herself, a weapon, and instructions for him to kill himself.
That doesn't seem like very fan behaviour. If I was a fan of someone, I wouldn't want them to end
Some people are
themselves.
mental though, dude, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's like the person that shot Dimebag Darrell. They were like a massive Pantera fan, but they thought that Phil Anselmo was putting subliminal messages in Pantera songs telling the guy to shoot Dimebag Darrell.
What?
Yeah, crazy, isn't it?
Absolutely crazy. People can be crazy.
Yeah. This is almost like a bit of like a like a weird fact, and I think it doesn't go the way you expect it to. Did you know that when a chimpanzee that learns an effective method to crack nuts open is placed into a new group that uses a less effective strategy, it will stop using the superior method, just to blend in with the rest of the chimps. And I almost think that's almost just like a sad lesson, not just about chimps, but I think about humanity as well. Like the fact that you would do something worse or less efficient just to blend in with other
Just
people.
to follow the crowd.
Because it sounds so stupid, doesn't it? It sounds so stupid. Did you know that in Rwanda, there are milk bars where people go just to socialise and drink milk together?
Oh, nice.
I'd quite enjoy
Drink
that.
a milk bar.
I'd quite enjoy that. Go to a nice Rwandan milk bar.
Oh, yeah, man.
Oh, this milk is just top class. You know?
Got that 5% strong milk.
Yeah, yeah. This is hilarious, this one. This is the last quickfire fact of the hour. In 2012, American singer Demi Lovato did an MTV documentary about her sobriety and how she overcame addiction. Nowadays, she admits that she was off her head on cocaine while filming the documentary. How hilarious is that?
Oh my god.
That just means it seems like so hilarious. Just like literally you're filming a documentary about your sobriety and you're just like tweaking like on like cocaine at the time. That's so funny. Anyway, we've come to the end of the first hour now. This next track is actually by me and Drew. This is a track that we recorded recently called Boat with the Moon. Check it out, everyone. Let us know what you think. Enjoy these little birds at the beginning. The birdies. We'll be back soon with plenty more interesting factoids and topics for y'all. You could say a plethora. Master of puppets, I'm pulling your strings.
Twisting your nips and smashing your dreams.
Smashing your pain. Sorry. It's right, it's past 8 p.m. now. Welcome back to Pandora's Box, everyone. You're listening to AW Radio. And I'm your host, as usual, Obadiah Painting Whistle. To the right of me, we got the man with the golden nugget. He goes by the B to the U to the double L to the wee.
To the winkle.
To the winkle.
The winklet.
Mr. Winklet. Isn't that one of the things you call your missus? Winklet.
Winklet.
Yeah, good name, isn't it? Good name. Shout out Winklet. Shout out Winklet, a.k.a. oh no, I can't say the other one.
Yeah.
Bam. Rhymes with bam, tank.
And bam shank.
And bam shank, yeah.
And bam.
No. So yeah, thanks for chilling with us this evening, everybody. We appreciate everybody that's out there. Let's get into a cool love story. So, about a month ago, I think, we were talking about sort of funny, embarrassing love stories.
Was I there for this episode? Because I do not have any recollection
Yeah,
of this.
I'm pretty sure he was there, wasn't he?
I can't remember.
I think he was.
I can't remember.
What did we talk about?
Embarrassing love stories.
Can you remember what one you talked about? Or
You know what? Funnily enough, I can't really remember in detail. I think I could imagine a couple of things I would have said.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly. Maybe we can talk about our own in a minute, though. You know, let's if we can think of any after this one. But so yeah, this is our good friend Joe Warren. Shout out Joe Warren. So he went to school with me and Drew, and he's also the in a band called Shoot the Moon. Good band, check him out. So this is Joe's story. This is Joe's sad tale. So he thinks he must have been 11 years old at the time. I want to do it from Joe's perspective. So for the next couple of minutes, I am Joe. So I think I must have been 11. I just got my first girlfriend at Haygrove School. That's secondary school. She was in the year above me, and so was 13. So I thought I was the absolute cat's pyjamas for having an older girlfriend. I think we'd been together for about 2 weeks, which is monumental when you're 11. So I invited her over my house for dinner, as you do when you're young. She came over and we had dinner, and then went and watched a bit of TV in my room, which I shared at the time with my 14-year-old brother. At one point, I jumped up to go for a pee, for what must have been just 2 minutes out of the room. Upon my return to the room, I found my older brother snogging my girlfriend. Naturally, for an 11-year-old, I ran downstairs and told on my brother to my mum, who proceeded to go upstairs and kick the girl out of the house before giving my brother a damn good thrashing about his loyalties. So, shout out Joe.
That's a life lesson right there.
A sad tale, a forlorn tale of love and betrayal. Love, seduction, and betrayal. So shame on you, seduction.
It's like a whole movie put into like a minute. A few minutes.
I know it was, wasn't it? You could make a really epic movie. Yeah. So yeah, sorry to hear about your tragic love story, Joe. but you know, if it's any consolidation, is that even a word?
Consultation.
No, that's a different word, Bullwinkle.
Oh.
Consultation is like when you consult somebody or something. Consolidation. Something like that. Anyway, you are a friend of the pod, my friend, as you well know, dude. Yeah, savage story. Imagine that. Your
That's
own
brutal,
brother.
man.
Your own brother. In your
Betrayed by your own brother.
in your own room as well.
Yeah.
In your room. You've literally been out of the room for 2 minutes. She's like, oh, no, he's a bit older.
What could
Yeah.
have
I'll
happened
get in
those
with him
2
instead.
minutes?
Yeah. Nobody knows what happened in those 2 minutes.
Mm.
Have you got any funny or embarrassing love stories, Bullwinkle? I hope you have.
None that come to mind.
No?
No.
Why have you got that little chagrin then?
Because I'm trying to think of one.
Yeah?
None that come to mind straight off the top of my dome. You guys got any?
I must do. I mean, I'm me.
Yeah.
I mean, I must do.
I'm finding it hard to like bring one to mind.
Yeah.
Like an embarrassing one. Like I can't really think of like something.
Nah, do you know what? It's really hard for me to think of like something I would consider like really embarrassing.
Oh, I've got one.
Go on. I mean, I think like cringe stuff, like overly getting off with your girlfriend, like snogging your girlfriend in the cinema.
I remember when I was going out with this girl called Becky from Minehead.
Oh yeah.
She's really cool. Shout out Becky.
Yeah, she's absolutely sound.
Bok.
Really
We
like.
used to call her Bok.
Yeah, I really like Becky. She's a big fan of Lord of the Rings. Really nice lass.
Yeah.
Really smart.
So this was when I first got my car, my Hyundai i30, when I was like
Right.
18, and that was like a brand new car.
Oh yeah,
at
it was
the time.
a
It's
really
like,
nice car.
Yeah, like way too powerful for me at like an 18-year-old like kid and stuff.
As you
and
soon discovered.
Yeah. On the way back from Minehead, actually.
Yeah.
So she invited me to like stay at her house. And like I just assumed she was like, oh yeah, my mum and dad's like completely fine with it and everything. Like just come over and we'll just chill and that. And I'm like, oh yeah, cool, So I drove down and we were just like in bed watching. I remember like I downloaded like Saved by the Bell. You know?
Right, yeah,
and we
yeah,
were
yeah.
just like we were just in the bed like watching like Saved by the Bell, and I brought like a crate of beer, so I'd been like drinking a few beers, and we were just there like I had like a crate of beer, and we were just drinking some beers, having a laugh, watching Saved by the Bell, quite innocent. I still had my pants on, she still had her pants on. We didn't have anything else on apart from our pants, but we're just chilling.
Sounds
we're
like a good time.
just like kind of and I'm thinking, oh, this is really cool. And I knew her dad and I knew her brother were home, but I hadn't seen them or anything. And do you know what I mean? So like
They were under her bed.
They were just around somewhere, and and everything was cool. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. And then and we were watching, and like I'd had a few cans by
So he was feeling
I was
mischievous.
feeling a bit like and just watching
Feeling
Saved by
himself.
no, I wasn't quite feeling myself, but not yet anyway. But and then like the next thing, like her dad just like comes bursting through the door. And I'm just in bed in my pants, like.
And she was topless.
And was she topless? I think she might have been. No, I think she had a bra on still, but just panties.
Even still, that's enough to make it awkward.
just a bra and panties. And we were sitting there, and we were just watching. It was nothing dodgy happening. We were just watching Save the Bell. But he just came in, and he just looked at me, and he's really angry, and he was like, "Get your and get out of my house." And he was just like that, and I was like, and she was like, "Dad, what are you doing?" And then she started like crying and that, and but he was just like, I'm like, got real angry at me and like, "Better get out of my daughter's bed," like that kind of thing. And it was just like, and it was super embarrassing, like super horrible.
I bet you felt
I'd
so
been
awkward.
drinking as well, so I was like, oh yeah, but yeah, and like I had to just get all my stuff and everything, and then so I drove as well full X-rated thing, but I couldn't do anything else apart from like leave.
At the time, you were living in Cannington.
Yeah. So it's like I hadn't had many beers, but still like a few too many to drive.
Cover
really.
yourself.
Yeah. But like
He'd
that
had
was
5 hours previously.
2 non-alcoholic beers.
Yeah, and it was like, but imagine that, like, because I'm quite a respectful guy in that as well, and like I wouldn't, I remember, I wouldn't have wanted to go around there if I didn't think that I was welcome and stuff, And
from your memory, Becky said it would be okay.
Yeah,
so.
and I remember saying like, it's totally cool I come over because it was the first time I'd been to her house.
She probably thought it would be okay, and then for some reason, I don't know, maybe her dad was in a bad mood.
I think she'd asked her mum. And
right,
and her mum said yes, but she hadn't spoke to her dad, probably because she knew he'd say no.
Right.
But so it was like, so that was the thing. And I remember
to be fair, if I was the dad, I'd probably do the same thing.
Yeah, that's it. And I remember going downstairs, but I was a little bit drunk and that. But I remember like opening the door to like the front room, and he was sitting in the front room, and I was like, look, I just want to say I'm like leaving, but I'm like really sorry for like causing anything. Like I actually thought I was like allowed to stay here and welcome. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
but he was just like he didn't even look at me, and he was still saying, he's like, if I was you, I'd just go now. I was like, oh, like, you know, it was so weird, but like, I was all right, cool, yeah, like, yeah, just like remember leaving, but it was,
by that point, it was like trying to put out a fire by peeing on an inferno.
Yeah, but I just wanted to say, like, you know, I wouldn't have gone there if
you thought you were welcome, and it turned out you were not welcome by any means. Yeah,
but that's like, that's a pretty almost like embarrassing one that I can remember.
Yeah,
like,
I have one that comes to mind.
Yeah,
was
brilliant.
quite funny.
For some reason, I just think it'd be really funny with you, Bullwinkles. I don't even know why.
For some reason, my day-to-day is always a bit strange.
Right.
So this was pretty recently. This was in Zante. Obviously, you guys know I went to Greece.
So this was really recent love story.
Not a love story. It's
brilliant.
not a love story.
No.
But it's just a funny little, embarrassing, whatever.
As
quip.
we are about to discover.
Exactly. So I'd been with my friends all day, and then we decided we were going to go out clubbing. So we get to the clubs, and my friends will leave early. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to stay for a bit longer, maybe chat to some girls, whatever, right? So I go up to this girl, and I'm speaking to her. I'm like, oh, I'll come buy you a drink, whatever. And in this club, they had this real weird system. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this before, but you had to buy, like, drink tokens.
Oh, yeah.
You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I swear they did that at, like, Palace or something at some point. You would just
never had that.
You'd pay £10 and you'd get, like, 5 drink tokens.
Oh,
and that was, like,
Yeah.
student night.
That was, like, what this was like. So you'd pay... my friends just gave me their drink tokens, but it was such a hassle, because they're all in my wallet. So I put them all in my wallet, and I was like, you know, normally you just go up, pay with money, whatever. And that was another thing. You didn't know how many drink tokens you needed for a drink.
Surely it'd be like 1 for a
No,
drink.
it wasn't. It was like 3 or something stupid.
That's almost like a scam, though, isn't it?
Exactly. But anyway, I get to the bar with this girl, and I'm like, right, I'll buy you a drink. What do you want? Whatever. And then as I'm like fiddling through my wallet to get it, I just can't find the
drink tokens
anywhere. So I'm like fiddling through, and something falls on the ground, and then my bank card falls on the ground, and I just look up and I go, and then she looks at me and she goes, and just walked off.
What the hell? That is hilarious.
Access denied.
Yeah, and I just walked away laughing. And was like,
mate,
that's quite funny,
hilarious.
to be fair.
That is
So you
it.
couldn't find your drink tokens?
No, and then
Did
I
you
found
find
out the
them
next day I think I just left after. Actually, I think I stayed for a little bit and then left, and then found out the next day I just did have like loads of drink tokens in my wallet, but just they were so small you just couldn't see them at all.
Especially in
the
you
dark
know, the
and that,
moment
yeah.
where you're like,
man.
you know, you're like, where the drink
Yeah,
tokens?
man.
Yeah, like fumbling around.
Under pressure.
Yeah, fumbling around in front of a potential new love interest.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
exactly.
under the romantic
needs that.
lights of Zante.
No one needs that.
I hated
No,
those
savage.
drink tokens.
You want to
The
just
bane of
bip
me.
it on your watch.
Exactly.
Or your phone or something.
Exactly. That's what I wanted.
Nice and
but
easy.
No,
Yeah.
unfortunately not.
I'm trying to think of anything embarrassing. I mean, nothing sort of like too major. Something like the really sort of light, like Bud Light version of what happened to you happened to me once. When I was going out with that girl, Emily Saunders, and her dad was called Joss.
Ah, yeah.
And he once like walked in, and you could tell that we'd sort of been a bit like when he walked in, and he was really sound to all of us, wasn't he? And he still is. He's like one of those guys. I see him now. Like I went out with Emily Saunders when I was like 15, and he's still sound if I see him now. I'm 32. He's like, oh yeah, you and the lads, like, oh yeah, you're sound, you're such good lads, you are all still playing the guitar and that. Oh yeah, even back then you were better than I am and that. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's just sound guy. But he just sort of like, you could tell he was coming in to say something, and then he was like, and you could tell he just like stopped and didn't say what he said, and then he was just like, I got a chainsaw downstairs. He's like, you better watch it or I will cut your willy off. And then he just like said that, and then he just like walked out, and I was a bit like, do you know what I mean? It was like really a bit like, oh crap, you know?
Oh god.
Yeah. Just that moment, innit? You know, have you ever been like walked in on and that, and then you're like, oh, I've got like another one as well. This isn't. It's to be honest, this isn't like. I think that they're always the worst when you're embarrassed with, like, you're embarrassed like because you're like, you think that the girl, like, you're embarrassed because of the girl, if you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you think that you've made yourself like a fool in front of the girl. Like, I haven't really got anything like that, luckily. It's more like stuff with the girl and then stuff that happened. So I remember, I think my parents were on holiday, and like my first serious girlfriend, like Sally was over. Shout out Sally. Love Sally. She's like still like my friend to this day. Just like lovely person. And she was round, and my parents were on holiday, and they had this cleaner at the time that we called Jean the Clean. Her name was Jean, so we just called her Jean the Clean.
Jean the Clean.
And she would just, just pop in for like an hour a week or something, just to help my mum keep on top of things. Yeah. And she was over, and she must have let herself in and not realised we were in. But me and Sally were getting down to the business in the bed, and she was like, obviously not like super old, but like elderly. Do you know what I mean? Like probably like late 60s, early 70s, young enough that she could still, maneuver a Hoover. But, she certainly wasn't going to win any,
high jump competitions.
egg and sack races, Yeah, that's the better one, yeah. Egg and spoon race, that's what I meant, yeah.
Egg and sack race.
What's the one that you're in a sack there, isn't there? There's one where you're like in a sack and you're
sack
race. Is it just called the sack race?
I don't think there's any eggs involved in that one.
Egg and sack race should be a thing, though.
Yeah, man, doubling it up.
Yeah.
Egg, spoon, and sack.
Egg and sack.
The trifecta, baby. We should join Pandora's box. Egg and sack
race.
spoon, and
Triathlon.
sack race.
Man.
Who can frickin' get to the finishing line first without spilling the egg and in a sack? Right, this is going to happen, guys. We're going to put it out on the tube. Anyway, to get back to my story, so me and Sally were, getting down to business, and then Jean just like opened the door, just like came in the room. So like me and Sally were like, and like, with the covers as you do, and we're like looking at the door like that, like, and like, from my opinion, we must have been like pretty loud, like even just like going like and stuff like that. And she just walked in. She must have been so lost in thought in her own little head, thinking that she was just in the house on her own, was probably thinking about her grandkids or whatever, and just fully came in the room. And it was no joke, for about 30 seconds, like how like for like 30 seconds is like a long amount of time with something like that, like
especially in that situation.
Like we were completely in the nud.
Yeah.
And like we're almost like, and then almost like thinking that she was going to notice us straight away, but then didn't, and she just walked further into my room with like a Hoover and like a little stuff of like cleans.
Man.
Like was almost just like looking around the room, and that somehow didn't clock us, and me and Sally were almost just like looking at each other, and then finally almost just that moment of realization where she was like, and then was just like, I mean, it was just like, oh sorry, and it was like picked up stuff and literally like ran out of the room and like slammed the door. I mean, so it was like, oh well, that was awkward.
Yeah.
And also it was like really funny as well, because at the time I was like 14.
Yeah.
And I think she probably knew I was only 14, so it would have just been quite like a funny predicament to find like,
oh man,
like a young lad in. Good times though, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've almost got like some funny stories like of like, which is almost just go to show the obliviousness of both my nature, and I think it's fair to say the male nature in general, but also especially of my nature. Like I remember there were these two girls that I was friends with that asked if they could come over to mine, and now as an adult I think that they probably wanted something to happen. Because thinking back on it, I know that it sounds really arrogant to say I know they both liked me at the time, but I'm pretty sure they did like me. I mean, they pretty much told me they did, and other people told me that they told them that they did. But anyway, so I was like, yeah, come over. This is such a funny story, really. I think I was like 16 when this happened. So these girls came over who were like really popular girls in their year and everything, like good looking girls came over, and it was just me and these two girls in my room, which is like, let's face it, like a young lad's dream.
Yeah.
And I just stuck on wrestling videos and I was like in bed with them, and they were like getting closer and closer to me, and like got close enough in bed with me that I had like an arm around each girl.
I think that is pretty,
and I remember just like, both of their heads like sort of on my chest, and they were being like really affectionate with me, but I was just like, oh, what is this bit in a minute, Jeff Hardy's about to swanton that guy through the table and that like that, and I just kept being like, oh yeah, do you guys want to from the kitchen and that, and I'd like go down and like get like this bag. I remember like I got like a This is so. I remember I made some homemade cookies. Suddenly I'm a grandma. Like
brought them up some homemade cookies.
Brought them some homemade cookies. We just had them on a tray, and I was like just making them watch wrestling. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna watch this bit coming up. They both of them, especially in hindsight, didn't care anything about wrestling. They weren't wrestling fans at all. They were just
polite.
Yeah, and like it's really funny that I was just that oblivious and just so aloof that I was in a situation that probably most of the guys in my year would have like dreamt of being in that situation and being like, oh yeah, okay, this is like this is like what
going down.
This is what young lads dream of.
Yeah.
But I was just such an idiot, and I was just so aloof that I just put on some wrestling VHSs, basically made them watch like old TLC matches between the Hardy Boys, the Dudley Boys, and Edge and Christian. Made us all some cookies, and then once the VHS finished, I was like, oh yeah, I want to go in town. Do you guys just want to like catch the bus with me? Because I want to like just go and hang out with my mates in town. And they were like, oh, okay. And then we all just went to the bus stop, and then I was like, all right, yeah, see you later, girls. We got into town, and I just went into like walked into town, like just hang out with all my mates.
So
I just went off and just hung out with my guy mates. What a doofus!
Did you think in your head that they were just like hanging out as friends?
Yeah. I thought they just were like, well, because they were my friends.
Right.
But in hindsight, as I said, I don't know, man. It's like the ignorance of youth and stuff like that. In a way, it's quite sweet, really. They
wanted cookies and
They were my friends,
wrestling.
But in hindsight, they weren't my friends because they were my friends. Do you know what I mean? I think they were my friends because, you know, maybe they like fancied me at the time or whatever. And looking back, it's easy to think like, you know what I mean? Like, they weren't like my friends in the same way, obviously, that like Drew and Josh now were my friends. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're still friends to this day. Like, I wouldn't hang around with those girls now because that was like a you know, I was friends with them for a couple of years, but really it was like, you know, for whatever, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
But it was just so funny. Like, I look back on it now and it seems so obvious to me as like a wiser man, but it's just so funny how you can be that aloof when you're a young lad.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And in a way, I'm like glad about it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because I mean, I remember like, some stories, I think some lads are like almost like too eager to get in girls' pants and stuff like that, and then obviously it like sort of puts girls off and stuff like that. But I genuinely wasn't really like that. Do you know what I mean? I was like, I always sort of like had girlfriends and stuff when I was in school, but like I wasn't sort of like the guy that was like trying to like get with girls, like trying to pull girls.
Innocence about it.
Yeah, it was like I'd have a girlfriend, I'd be with them for a while, it would finish for whatever reason, then maybe another relationship would like naturally develop, and then I'd be with them for whatever reason. Do you know what I mean? It's not like I'd like go to parties and like try and pull girls and that. I don't think I've ever tried to pull a girl in my life, really. Do you know what I mean? Things just end up sort of happening. Do you know what I mean?
It's good
well,
way.
I know that you're
Nice
the same, really. I can imagine you are as well, Bullwinkles. Do you know what I mean? We're just not the sort of people that are like, let's go out and pull. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
It's just like, I don't know. But I just think that is pretty funny. I've definitely like thought about that like over the years, and I'm like, it's just like so funny.
Wasted opportunity.
I can even just almost like remember like almost like a moment that, you know, you have almost like a photo book in your head. Yeah, where I can just remember this bit where they were both like either side. I had my arms around both of them in my bed, all of us fully lying down in my bed with like the covers over us. And I could tell it's almost like really funny in hindsight that I could tell it's almost like they were waiting for something to happen.
Oh, yeah.
But then just like nothing happened.
Yeah.
Funny, isn't it? It's funny, isn't it?
Funny.
That'd be such a funny image in like a TV show or something.
Yeah.
Just being completely oblivious to what was actually going on.
Making them watch literally, like TLC match. I remember I had this like Hardy Boys, Dudley Boys, Edge and Christian. It was like all of their best TLC matches.
Good video to show
on a
them,
double VHS.
Yeah.
And I was just, I literally remember it was that video that I put on. And I was just like making them watch it. I was like, oh, this bit coming up's real good in that.
Yeah.
So funny, man. So funny.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I think I was quite an aloof lad. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, wear your heart on your sleeve, man. And just follow your interests.
Ate some cookies. Just ended up was like, screw this. Let's just catch a bus into town.
Yeah.
So funny, isn't it? So funny. Anyway, with that, we'll listen to a track now. When we come back, we've got some more quickfire facts. And if we can think of any more funny/embarrassing love tales, we'll bring them your way. Oh, actually, just before we get into this song, did you guys hear that there was the first shark attack in British waters for like 150 years the other day? No, 170 years.
By what?
It was the first shark attack, I think, the official shark attack since 1857, I want to say.
All right.
Which shark?
A blue shark 2 miles off the coast of Penzance in Cornwall.
Whoa.
There's like a tour company that do they are actually like specifically like blue shark sort of I don't know how you describe it, you know, like viewing
yeah
thing. So like they'll go out, and these experts go out in a boat 2 miles out to sea where they know it's like blue shark
Haven.
sort of territory.
Mm.
And then you go swimming. And blue sharks are like one of those sharks that are like, they have bitten people in the past, but they're not considered like man-eaters. Do you know what I mean? They're big, but they're not like man-eater big, But anyway, there was people in the sea. These like tourists are in the sea, and then a woman got like bit on the leg, like pretty savagely. Apparently it was like pretty savage, but apparently she walked off the boat onto the land, so it wasn't like.
So,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like. But I guess it's still like enough because it's like an official shark attack, so it's like some people are like a bit paranoid now.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something else happened then, like it started
No,
leg and then just went ham.
No, luckily that didn't happen. So she got bit on the leg, and obviously they immediately got her out of the water onto the boat, and then I think
that's fine.
I think the Coast Guard met with the boat and then escorted it back to the shore where ambulance was waiting for her, and she got took off to the hospital where she's had like stitches and stuff in her legs.
I wonder what would happen with like like a tour company like that where they're actually offering things to go swimming with those sharks.
I imagine you
and
must
stuff.
have to like sign some sort of papers before.
Well,
and they must have some insurance and things. But I just I would have thought because there hasn't been one for so long, like whether they would still be allowed to like run now.
Yeah,
well, it would depend how.
Savage
it depends
people.
how on it they are. Like if they were prepared with like forms, with like you say insurance and everything, then
I
maybe
don't know. I just don't
bad.
know whether they would like almost like the law would let them, if you know what I mean.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like rather than
well,
whether there'd be something that was passed that's saying you just can't do that because it's too dangerous. Or
I know that like the woman herself that got bitten and everybody else that was happened to be on the boat that day said that it wasn't like anybody's fault. It was just like one of those freak things that happen. And they've got apparently they've got rave reviews. So if you go on there, find their company, apparently it's got really good reviews and everything like that. But with that said, and take this with a pinch of salt because I don't want to be slander anybody, because this might just be for some reason some old fisherman making stuff up.
Yeah, allegedly.
But allegedly, a fisherman said a fisherman that's regularly out to sea in his boat, who sometimes sees the boat 2 miles off Penzance, says that he has seen the people that run the company chum the waters to bring in sharks, which is really, if that's the case, is really bad. Yeah. Because what you end up doing essentially is you cause feeding frenzies with sharks. Yeah, so essentially it's almost like it's like making someone just go almost like primal and go crazy. They deliberately put all this chum, which is just
it's
like blood and fish guts and just this specially made concoction of everything that's going to make a shark come in and just lose its mind. So they're saying if that is the case, there's obviously going to be traces of that in the water while people are still swimming around, and then they're so almost
they just think it's another chum session.
Yeah, they're almost so aroused, not sexually, but maybe
like that dolphin.
Yeah, maybe.
Lady with a dolphin.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. So it is. So I don't know that. Take that for what you will. I'm not sure if that's the case or not. Hopefully it's not. If it's not, then shame on you, fishermen.
Yes.
For slandering this company in such a way. Maybe he just wanted his 5 minutes of fame. I don't know.
Pandora's box is about to open wide.
Unlike the lady's legs, who was with Nathaniel / Bullwinkles in Zante.
What was it that dropped on the floor, man?
Along with your car.
I don't know.
You never told us.
What was it? Come on, spill the beans.
It was a condom.
Oh, I hope your mum's not listening.
I can imagine that was very embarrassing. You're looking for a drinks token.
Yeah.
To buy a nice young lady. And one of the old John boys.
I hope Nanny Pauline's not listening.
She would never, and she would understand that
Johnny boys.
protection is important.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah,
I like how you're she would never listen. She would never.
But yeah, man, that was so. It was the way I look down, I look up, I go. I was like, you know what? Fair play. That's quite funny.
Yeah, that's pretty funny, man. That is a hilarious story.
Had to hold the L, but fair enough.
Yeah.
That was funny.
There is something almost really fun to talk about, isn't there? About funny sort of like love interest stories like this. There is just something hilarious about it. I'm trying to think if I have any more. I don't think I do though.
When I got back to the hotel and told my friends that story, they found it hilarious.
Yeah?
After I told them about it, yeah. Because obviously they left early, so then I was just kind of after that. I was walking around for a bit by myself until I made a friend or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I have one
Weird.
I have one actually. This is pretty funny actually that I can sort of say without obviously getting too into it, but it's just really hilarious because again I think it shows both my state of mind as a youngster, let's face it, probably a bit now as well, but just know, because it's just what I am like as a person, but nowhere near as bad, because obviously I've got more and more self-realisation as I've gotten older. But again, I think it's like partly just how stupid young boys are, and partly just how stupid and aloof I am. But I remember I was at a download festival once, and I was in a tent, and I was getting on with a girl, and like obviously I went with like some of my friends, so like I went with like Josh, and his girlfriend at the time, and we also went with our friend Joe, and we were like loads of other people in our like group as well, like Coxie, you know, and stuff like that. Just loads of other people from like the Bridgewater gig scene sort of went together, but my close mates there were Josh and Joe, and we obviously made like a little circle of our tents and that. So literally, Josh's tent was like less than a foot from mine, like you know the where it was like being pitched, and so was Joe's. I remember it was like mine was in the middle. If I was looking out of my tent, Josh's was on the right, sort of like at an angle, and Joe's was on the left, sort of like an angle. And it sounds like ridiculously obvious thing to say, really, because obviously a tent has no soundproofing whatsoever. But you know, it's always like this stupid thing in your head, especially when you're almost like, well, if the zip's done up, then no one can hear you. Yeah. And it was just like the middle of the day, and like me and this girl were like really drunk, and we were like fully getting it on. And I think I was feeling like I was like drunk, and I was very impassioned, so I was like giving it some without sort of trying to be like too rude or whatever. But I was like full on going for it, and it was just really funny that I just thought that like nobody would hear us. But it was like the middle of the day, and also our tents were sort of like behind our tents was almost like just this bit where like everybody was just walking to the main stage. So there were like literally would have been like. Within the time this happened, maybe upwards of 100 people like walked right around the past of my tent. So God knows things that they would have heard. But it was just one of those really funny things where I think everyone else was just having like a chill. It was probably about 12 p.m. and everyone else was just sort of like having like a chill couple of beers and stuff like that, just like in our little circle. And then it almost like finished, and obviously I thought, yeah, that's just like, you know, just like nobody obviously heard that because the tent, it was all zipped up, and then it was just like it just undid the zip of the tent, and it was just almost like it was like really awkward and quiet, and almost just like Joe and Josh and Josh's girlfriend at the time, just like loads of other people were almost just like sat there, almost just like but just like staring right at me, and then I just remember Joe just being like, yeah, man, we heard everything then. And I was almost like, what? But how? I heard the tent zipped up. And then I remember like later on, he just obviously like being like a mate, and us only being like 17 at the time, he like went into like graphic detail of stuff that you could hear, and I was like, oh man. You know what I mean? Just like, yeah, so it was pretty embarrassing. Yeah, man, yeah. And with that, let's go into some Quickfire Facts. A man named Chris Barr, who was paralysed due to a neck injury sustained from surfing, was able to walk again after an experimental treatment. Stem cells were taken out of the man's stomach fat and then injected into his spinal cord. This completely regenerated and repaired his injury and allowed him to walk again. Whoa. Stem cells are amazing, man.
Yeah.
Is it stem cells that I've seen recently that they've cured like quite a few people of AIDS? With like stem cell research. I think that's what I've seen. I'll search that up as you go into the next fact.
Do you know, this is actually quite an interesting fact that we can use as a quickfire fact. Did you know where people speculate where AIDS came from? Do you know where?
Monkeys.
No. Yeah? Did you actually know that? Or was that
somewhere in the depths of my mind I knew that.
There's I don't know how much it is like I don't know how much it's speculation or how much it's a real fact, but I've heard that they think that it came from a sailor who had sex with a chimp. And then the sailor caught AIDS off the chimp and then spread it. Literally, he like spread it throughout the human race.
So crazy, isn't it?
So, guys, just stop having sex with monkeys and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Apparently, I was right. It's so this is the top thing that's come up. California man appears to be another person cured of HIV after a stem cell treatment, I suppose.
Fantastic.
But yeah, that's really cool.
I know that, man, it's almost like a miracle cure. Like, it's healing so much stuff. There's like 65-year-old men, like sportsmen, who have like savagely destroyed knees, who like are in pain like constantly, and they're saying that like they'll get like a couple of stem cell injections, and like within like 3 months, they like their knees are as good as they were when they were like 20.
Am I right in saying stem cells are basically cells that have the ability to change into any other type of cell that you might need? That if you were to lose a certain like you needed a replenishment of cells. You have some cells in your body ready to change to that.
I think that's
almost what it is.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't 100% know. I know that obviously they're found throughout your body, and they're like they've only just sort of come into the forefront in like recent years. I think at the moment it's still a ridiculously expensive treatment. So it's not the sort of thing that you could like get off the NHS in Britain, or that the average person could just get.
I've heard about a few really like high net worth individuals
if you're,
who had treatment with stem cells.
Like a millionaire,
like Dan Bilzerian, and Joe Rogan's had it in his shoulder. Dan Bilzerian.
Because we should talk about Dan Bilzerian.
We should, because he's an intriguing figure. Because he's like a con man, isn't he? Essentially,
is he?
Yeah.
Didn't he get started off playing poker?
Well, no, he started off as like in the SAS.
Right.
Not in the SAS. Like so, it was very high up in the military.
Dan Bilzerian.
Yeah, and he ran his knee. He had to get out of the military due to injury because he hurt his.
Well, the guy with
legs.
the beard,
yeah.
The guy
so
with
he
like
started
a
off in the
weirdly shaped
military.
head.
And if you listen to his story, he talks about doing these runs, and he would have to do these like crazy runs, like obviously as part of the training, and he would just keep doing it, and he did it with like broken legs and stuff, and just like would just keep running on it, and he messed his legs up completely because of it, and then they wouldn't let him finish it then or be a part of this elite unit.
Are you sure you're not talking about David Goggins?
In my head, Dan Bilzerian.
David Goggins is a black guy. So the guy you're talking about is the white guy with the beard.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the only reason I thought was because like David Goggins has like the same story in terms of like running, like because he was a US Navy SEAL, but he like ran his knees into the ground so hard that like I think he completed like an ultra marathon or something, and then his knees were like in agony, and then afterwards they realised
unless Dan Bilzerian was a con man, he just copied his story.
Yeah, maybe. And then afterwards they realised that like David Goggins had like run an ultra marathon on like essentially like broken knees.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like, mate, that's another level of mental fortitude, that is. That's like fair shout, bro. But at the same time, look after yourself.
Yeah, I think it was on the Joe Rogan with that, because Dan Bilzerian's been on there with Joe Rogan.
Right, yeah, I'm not surprised.
That was like when I heard about it.
Right. Edgar Allan Poe died mysteriously after being missing for 6 days. Though still alive when he was finally found, he was wearing someone else's cheap clothes and was not coherent enough to tell where he'd been. He had disappeared en route to his own wedding.
What?
So he disappeared on the way to his wedding, was found 6 days later in somebody else's clothes that looked very cheap, and he was not coherent and had no idea where he'd been for 6 days.
Man, aliens got him.
Maybe.
Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah, so really famous sort of horror writer from back in the day I've read. And he's also got some really famous poems like Quote the Raven. Great poem, that is. Everyone check out Quote the Raven Nevermore.
Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah. Did you know that the most venomous snake in the world, there is a difference. I don't want to get told off by a friend of mine who I know will get on me at that. The inland taipan, or fierce snake, is the most venomous snake in the world. However, because of its shy nature and timid nature, there has never been a single recorded death caused by its bite. The word fierce relates to its venom, not to its temperament. So yeah, the most venomous snake in the world has never bit anybody. But apparently if it bit you, you would literally your innards would just like dissolve.
So it literally bites its prey. That's what and we're not prey, so
Isn't that like Daddy Longlegs? Apparently
that's
they're
a
like
myth. That's rubbish. There's that old myth that like Daddy Longlegs are more poisonous than like any spider, but they haven't got the bite strength to like pierce your skin. But it's rubbish, man. It's just one of those things that people say for some reason. Female anacondas can sometimes eat the smaller male after sex. Sexual cannibalism provides female anacondas with a lot of nutrients, useful for them because they fast for 7 months while pregnant. Man, and
ultimate sacrifice. Have my sperm and my body.
Yeah, a lot of males get the wrong end of the stick, man. In the animal kingdom, it's like spiders, when like the female spider will always like eat the male. When snakes slither, they're lifting parts of their body off the ground a tiny amount and are effectively walking on their coils. Even accounting for this, mathematical models of snake movement can only account for 90% of their top speed, leaving the 10% a complete mystery to science. That's interesting, isn't it?
So they're like doing the worm,
in their
essentially.
wheel.
Yeah, so science can't explain how snakes can move that fast.
Strength of will, man.
But it's interesting, isn't it? Because like say like you measured a human running, you'd be able to like think.
Get it down to the T.
Yeah, because you'd understand the human, each leg is generating this much force into the ground, like poundage, and that's generating that force. Whereas science cannot explain. it can only account for 90% of it. It's quite
Well,
interesting.
it's the same with bees, isn't it? There's no like scientific reason why bees are able to fly. Like it literally breaks like the hard laws of physics because it doesn't make sense that they should be able to propel themselves.
Relatively,
but they just fly.
So cool. Did you know that the reticulated python is a species of snake that can grow as wide as a human and grow up to 10 meters in length? It is capable of catching and swallowing a crocodile or a deer whole. Back in 2017, the body of an Indonesian man was found inside the belly of a reticulated python. Though there have been reported attacks before, this is the first fully confirmed case with video documentation of a python eating a fully grown adult human male whole.
Whoa.
Sketchy.
Damn.
Sketchy. The Echis, or the saw-scaled viper, as it's also known, is responsible for more human-related deaths than any other snake and is arguably responsible for more deaths per year than all other snake species combined. So that's one mean snake. The saw-scaled viper, aka the Echis. Viper. That's mean, isn't it? Chocolate milk was invented by an Irishman called Hans Sloane in the 1680s when he was in Jamaica. He found that the locals drank a mix of chocolate and water and he found it nauseating. So he mixed it with milk instead. He then brought chocolate milk back to Europe, where it was sold as medicine at the time, but went on to become just a massive staple of European and American culture.
Chocolate milk.
I have to say I love chocolate.
Gotta say I hate chocolate milk.
What?
It's my least favourite kind of milkshake.
Oh, it's my favourite type of milkshake, bro.
What's your favourite, Drew?
I like a good... in Sainsbury's, you can get, like, cocoa. And it's like...
Cocoa. I love how you said that so intensely.
Cocoa. And it's like... It is chocolate milk, but it's, like, really nice quality chocolate, really nice quality milk. That's banging.
Did you know that the jacuzzi was invented by a man called Candido Jacuzzi? And he invented it to provide pain relief for his 15-month-old son, Kenny Jacuzzi, who was born with rheumatoid arthritis. So bless you, Candido, and your son, Kenny. I hope that Kenny went on to live I hope he is still living a pain-free life. And I hope that the jacuzzi helped him. This is a funny one. We'll leave it on this one for today. There was a woman called Linda Burfield Hazard. Sounds like she was a hazard to society. And she was known as the Starvation Doctor. She wrote the book Fasting for the Cure of Any Disease. She was convicted of manslaughter in 1912 for a patient's death by starvation. At least 15 deaths are attributed to her so-called care. While doing a fasting cure on herself in 1938, she died of starvation. So this woman was essentially in Egypt, and she thought that, just not eating would cure you of any disease. As a result, 15 people died, and 16 if you include herself.
That's savage.
I have to say, though, I think that just ties in just to, like, we'll leave it there for today, but I think, because, we've talked a little bit on, no, we haven't. Our friend Anabolic Al has talked a little bit about, like, fad diets and how there's not, like, a good or a bad diet, and there's not, like, good or bad macronutrients and all that sort of stuff on Bullwinkles' breakfast show. Go check it out. But, yeah, it's like, there are so many almost like fad diets at the moment and fad ways of eating, whether it's like keto and like fasting. And like, don't get me wrong, I think that like not eating, I think it's obviously good not to eat all the time. So I think it's like, good to sometimes like, not eat for say like 12 hours, give yourself like 12 hours, so like eat 12 hours and then not eat 12 hours. But I think some people really push it to the extreme, when they're like, I hear some people are on like things like, literally they're on like 20, like they'll fast for like 20 hours, then eat like 4 hours a day and stuff, and I just think that's silly, man. It almost goes in line a little bit with this way of thinking. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's not really good for you to like be like that, and I think people get caught up in their head like, okay, this is like a good thing, so I'm going to push it to the limit, whereas it's like, it's not really any good or way bad to eat. It's calories.
Whatever works for you, man.
Whatever works for you. Definitely use things that are tools for you. Definitely. But at the end of the day, calories are king. If you're taking in more calories than it takes to maintain your body a day, you're going to put on weight. If you're taking in less than it takes for your body to maintain your current weight, you're going to lose weight. Macronutrients is important for body composition. But other than that, it doesn't really matter. Just try and eat like pretty healthy food. Be sensible, eat well rounded.
Work out, baby.
It's time to get our thecthy up in here. We're going to leave it on that for today. Thank you to everyone for joining us on Pandora's Box yet again. Thanks to Joe Warren for sending us that awesome story. Thanks to Sam Peeps for recommending the Swedish twin story. Thanks to every one of our friends that listen to us on a regular basis. We love you. Have a good week, everybody.
You're friends of the pod.
You
Friends
are
of the pod.
Friends of the pod.
All right.